Hey, welcome back you lovely lot to Cowland on Cars, the YouTube channel that's almost single-handedly keeping the rust prevention business in business. If you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. Makes a massive difference with the numbers, and it means next time I do a video, which I have managed to do one every single week, you'll be the first to know. P38 Range Rover. Last week I introduced it to you. This week I've been driving it extensively. I have done almost 1,000 miles in this wonderful old machine this week. There are many faults to report, but we'll come to those later. But my overwhelming thought is, it's just a lovely place to be. It's a really nice thing to drive. It's a wonderful way to travel. And I'm getting somewhere between 22 and 23 mpg, which is about what I get out of the long wheelbase Jag. So I don't think that's bad at all. But I have to start doing something to improve it. Now there's going to be, I think, a long list of mechanical maladies that we need to go through, a lot of jobs to do, a lot of problems to fix. They'll come down the line. I'm not too worried about that. But because a very good and dear old friend was in town, I thought I'd make my first job this week improving that driver's seat, which as you can see, wasn't the best. Split piping, deeply grained leather, worn through paint. Didn't look good. It's the first thing you see when you step into the car. And although it wasn't a job I intended to do this early on, when the talent's in town, you've got to book them. What has been absolutely amazing though, is the amount of you that very kindly commented from last week's video to tell me your experiences of the P38, what you thought the problems might be, whether you thought I was an absolute genius for buying one because they're the best thing in the world, whether you thought I was a complete idiot for getting one because yours cost you a huge amount of money. What I've learned about the P38 is we all have between us a very different owning experience, that's for sure. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Like any car, you get good ones, you get bad ones, and then you get good ones that have been looked after that give wonderful, faithful service, then you get bad ones that haven't been looked after that give terrible service. I'm hoping this one is somewhere in the former. I think just looking at the bills, the fact it's never needed lots of work spending on it, and then also a wonderful thing happened this week is that the son of the fantastic previous owners that I was praising so heavily in last week's video came forward to say that they'd watched the first video, were delighted that I'd bought the vehicle, and were looking forward to see what I did with it. Isn't that nice? And also invited me once it's finished, or at least a little bit better, to take it back and show them, which is always one of the most wonderful things you can do when you're restoring a car, to get the seal of approval from the person that let it go in the first place. But there's a lot of wonderful things happening. I've got a good feeling about this truck. I really do. I think it's a good one. And I think we can make it better without spending enormous amounts of money. Well, I hope so anyway. But either way, I'm in for the journey now, and hopefully so are you. Let's get cracking. As I say, interior, let's make it better. Now, the talent in question is a gentleman called Dave Hedges, and Dave and I have been working together since this car was brand new, since about 1997, 1998. Dave first walked into my Saab dealership and showed to me what a fabulous trim repair guy he was. So we're going to start like we always do, with giving everything a bit of a clean. You can see there are other things to do later down the line, but today we're just going to concentrate on the driver's seat because Dave doesn't have a lot of time. He's a rock star. You can see the problem. So there are a few issues here. There's a lot of ingrained dirt and heavy patination, heavy creasing. You can also see the piping on the driver's side has started to actually come apart. The piping's come out of the vinyl that goes around it. It really doesn't look very good, but if anyone can sort it, it's this man. He's got me out of a sticky situation in the past, and I'm sure, even though this car's not for sale, it's going to be just as good as all the ones he saved over nearly 30 years of working together. Right then, so what's the process? First of all, you need to get everything scrupulously clean. The colour of these seats isn't actually the real colour of these seats. Over the years, all that ingrained dirt, wear, just usage, even on a lovely maintained car like this, means there's an awful lot of discoloration that comes purely from the amount of grime that's sitting on top of the leather. So the first thing we need to do is find out what colour the leather actually is, or was. On any car, it's always the driver's side seat squab that gets the most wear because it's where you get in and out of the vehicle. So understandably, you can see there's deep cracks here. You can also see the bare leather is peeking through. Leather is painted, of course. Cows don't come that colour. So what happens is over time, like any paint, if you keep going over it, it's going to wear off. Dave just really wants to see, before he does the repair on the outer, what the true colour of the seat is. Now take note here because I'm going to be copying this a little bit later on to try and make it all match. Dave uses all sorts of proprietary cleaners. He's got his own little special mix of stuff that he uses. You'll notice as well he's using a magic sponge, which is at great pains to point out. If you don't know what you're doing with those, please don't use them because they're very abrasive, they're very chalky, and will cut through the top of leather very, very quickly and do a lot of damage. He is a seasoned pro and he's using a cleaner to stop it doing too much damage. I would stay well away from that and just follow the tricks that come later in the video. Now, when this seat was transformed from being a cow into a rather nice looking leather seat, it was conolized, and basically that gives it a smooth surface. Now, the problem is where we've got wear coming through, That's rough. That's literally, it feels like a cow's hide. And as Dave tapes off the seat to get ready for the paint, you can see that's actually just the rough, pure leather peeking through the old factory paint. So what we're going to have to do first, get that really smooth and then bind that together. And the leather binder will do the job of the colonisation. It'll basically give us one consistent smooth surface. So Dave has to apply that, let it go off, and using his hairdryer, which obviously he hasn't needed for a few years now, he can just do that, sand it smooth, then we've got one consistent surface. Now, one of the great debates when you're restoring a leather seat like this is, do I keep the creases in or do I go for Botox smooth? Now, because the rest of the car is lightly patinated, what I've asked Dave to do here, and what his preference always is to do just the lightest touch-up. So we are going to smooth gently the patination and the cracks. But as you can see, because we've got other cracks on all of the seats, rather than chase it and try to get it look like brand new, I think lightly patinated but clean and smooth and even with those creases, I think will look much better. So what Dave's doing now is mixing up the first set of colours, which he does by hand. This is the bit that always blows my mind. Everything you're about to see, no spectrometers, no weights, no scales. He looks at the panel, works out what the colour needs to be. Literally does, you can see 4 colours there, what he thinks the 4 potential options might be. And once he's found the one he wants, he cleans them all off and we're ready to paint. Now, there are a few things to point out for those of you that haven't seen this. First of all, that looks very, very light because the paint dries darker than when it goes on. Secondly, the seat will be matte, and when the paint goes on, it's shiny. So again, when light reflects from a shiny surface, it looks brighter than when it doesn't from a matte surface. So don't worry, things will look lighter and brighter than they'll settle down to be. And I'm in the hands of a great man here who really knows what he's doing. The armrest is going to have to wait till another day. Dave is a magician, but that needs stitching. So you'll have noticed that Dave started with a colour wash. Basically, he's literally wiping the paint into the seat to get the paint to sit in the cracks, which will just smooth things out and it'll really go in. We then finish that with the airbrush coat that you can see here. And again, between each coat, he's using the hairdryer just to make sure it dries evenly. And you can see how supple that is. By not using too much filler, the seat will keep a movement and a flexibility that was just like when it was new. You can over-restore and over-fill a seat, and that gives you a stiff cardboard-like feel, and I just don't want that. Now, this piping, I think, is going to be a tricky one even for this man. First of all, we're going to detack this tape. We've just painted that seat. If that tape was too sticky, there is a small chance, even though Dave has fully cured the paint, we might actually pull the paint off when we take the tape off. We don't want that. So into the repair proper, the first thing Dave's going to do is take the remnants of what's left of the vinyl that was wrapped around the plastic cord inside and stick what's left of it to the plastic. So what we're trying to do is build up a basic shape of where the piping was, and more importantly, hold the plastic cord tight to the seat. Let's be honest here, guys. The long-term fix, the long-term solution for this part of the seat would be to take it all apart, put new piping in and do it again. That's expensive and time-consuming. What we're looking at here is a very high-quality bodge, for want of a better term. We're just going to make this last maybe another year or two. Just make it look prettier. You can see the amount of effort that Dave's putting into this. So first of all, there's fillers going in because obviously you've got a high spot between where the vinyl sits and where the cord sits. So that's the flexible filler that we used on the seat, so it can move quite a lot. So Dave's going to get what he can to get a smooth, uniform finish. And once that's done and cleaned, he's then going to hand paint in with, again, a perfectly colour-matched blue. And what we're left with is this incredible repair. Dave did 2 goes to get 2 lots of filler to get a really smooth surface. And then when he's peeled the tape off, you can see we've got movement, we've got flexibility, we've got uniform colour and surface. And it's an incredible repair. That is about 3 or 4 hours work there you've seen condensed into about 8 minutes. But my word, doesn't that look better? Being a purist, I have to say, the only way to get an absolutely perfect result on any seat repair is to do it again. What Dave does is a really quality makeover that will last for years, but I think it's a great way. If you're not wanting to spend enormous amounts of money on reupholstery, going to trimmers, what Dave and his ilk can do is make it look absolutely fantastic for very sensible amounts of cash. Now, we need to get the seat all one colour again. And once we've done that, after cleaning it thoroughly, we are going to do just a quick flick over with the airbrush to get everything looking the same colour. Because obviously we've painted the seat, and even a painted seat isn't going to look exactly the same as a clean seat. So again, it's the colour wash to fill all the cracks before Dave breaks out the airbrush. Not too much, no fillers, not too much colour wash, not too much paint. We don't want it looking like a cardboard Botox seat. We want it smooth, supple and as new. And you know what? I think he smashed it. Now it looks like it's just a couple of months old and it's had a really easy life. Exactly the look I was after. So I think there are a few things we can take from that short film. Number one, it's a very satisfying and rewarding process. Number two, Dave Hedges is an absolute genius. And number three is for not a massive amount of money. Dave charged me for probably 4 or 5 hours work there. He charged me about 160 quid, to be fair, which I really thought was fantastic value, particularly when you look what he's done. I did not think for a second he'd save that piping. And Dave, by his own admission, isn't saying this is a forever repair, particularly on the piping. What he is saying is that'll maybe buy you another 2 or 3 years and just make it look a lot prettier. And I do think with a lot of projects, half of it is the pride of ownership. If you can just make it look and feel a tiny bit better as you go through the process, you have the feel-good factor. You don't mind sinking a bit more money into it, and the whole thing just becomes a bit easier. So my big problem now is to have an immaculate driver's seat that really does look almost like new, but the rest of the car doesn't match. If you can remember that original dirty colour, that's where I am. So what I've done is quickly popped in to see my friend Daz at Dodo Juice, and they have a range called Supernatural. Now, Supernatural is a very highly award-winning range of car care, which I think might do the trick. They have a leather cleaner and a leather sealer in particular that has won a ton of awards, and I've used on a few other cars. And it's going to be a very easy and quick way for me to show you how you can replicate a lot of the things that Dave has done at home. It also gives me a chance to run around the factory and get a few other supplies while I'm there. He even put it in the boot. What a mate. Thanks, Daz. Right then, in this here Supernatural box, we've got our leather cleaner, we've got our leather sealer, we've got a brush, we've got a cloth. I reckon even I can do this without messing it up. There's only one way to find out. I don't pretend to be a valeter. Don't worry, I'm not going to start becoming a YouTube detailer. There's far more people in my social circle much more talented at this than I am. But this stuff has won a lot of awards, particularly with people like Auto Express, and I have used it before. It's dead easy. Watch this. Everybody knows the first rule of doing an internet clean is the 50-50. Everybody knows that. All I'm going to be doing in the first instance really is copying exactly what Dave did. And just cleaning and scrubbing and using the brush to get a bit of foam and see what's what. Now, the Supernatural range is really interesting because, unlike a lot of other Dodo Juice products, because it's part of the Dodo Juice family, they don't use any colours or smells. So normally when you're doing this with some cleaners, you get an amazing smell. What they've deliberately done with the Supernatural range is not put anything into the mix that you kind of don't need. So it's almost like the GT3 RS of detailing products. Basically, if you need it, it's in there. If you don't, it's not. Already, even before I've wiped anything off, I can tell you that that is going to be a lot cleaner. You can see the colour difference already. When Dave first painted that seat, I'll be honest, I was thinking, mate, you've done that a little bit too light. Not that I should doubt him after really all that time we've been working together, but you know what? So what's really interesting is, as Dave was saying, all these creases in the side of the seat. I don't really want to take those out. I don't mind a bit of patination in the leather. I think it's all that time working with my little Welsh friend. I've grown to love patination on older things. It tells a story, particularly with leather. But if you can just get out the ingrained dirt that's in the creases, it will look a lot more uniform and a much nicer colour. Already I can tell you, just with 1 or 2 little sweeps and passes of that, that's already looking a lot cleaner. Love it. Now also in this Supernatural kit, they give you a little towel, a white towel, or a microfiber that's used the correct nomenclature. So you can see and wipe down to the way you're up to and see what you're taking off. Now some of what's coming off is dirt. A lot of what's coming off is dirt. Well, you can see that's clean on that side. Look on that side. Now I've given this pretty much in real time what you've seen there, about 2 minutes. So not exactly a pro job, but let's just have a look. Here we see. Look at that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And just in case you're wondering what difference 28 years of dirt makes the colour of your seat, now you can see. Ask yourself the question, when was the last time you cleaned the leather seats in your car? Particularly if you've got a convertible, chances are you're harbouring something a little bit like this. It's really important, and why you get the brush is to work into those creases, because that's where all the dirt's sitting. You can see it's actually grained into the leather. So if I can get all of that out, it's going to really rewind this seat. And if you're not sure what you're sitting in, that's just one proper pass. Imagine when I've done round 2 in a minute. And there you go. A matching pair. Almost as good as new. Now, once I've finished all of this, I do need to put the sealant on, but I need to make sure, obviously, it's perfectly clean and dry before I do that. So I'm going to do the whole car, then put the sealant on. You want to make sure it is fully clean before you do it, because obviously you're going to seal in whatever dirt's there if you don't. So I'm going to spend a bit longer doing that, and I won't bore you with that. I think you get the idea. It's dead easy and it's fast. So there you go. If you've got £42 in your life, because that's what that entire kit costs, both bottles, the brush, the cloth, 42 quid. And if you've got, I don't know, maybe an hour or two on your Sunday, you can probably polish, I would say, 200 or 300 quid into your car, particularly if you've got a lighter colour leather, you'll really see a difference. But even if you've got a darker colour leather, you're just sitting in a lot of dirt. So obviously if you keep leather conditioned, cleaned, supple, it's going to last a lot longer as well. So I think that's a nice simple first job. Join me next week. I think I'm going to do something mechanical. I also need some new tyres, and we know what happens when we don't swap tyres in time, don't we, boys and girls? Anyway, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next week.